Insignia the colors of the deepest indigo blue. I'm rising through the shadows with a spirit born anew. Then in the peaceful stillness of the sky blue day, I'm glorifying teachers in a holy kind of way. Artistic beauty in the struggle, sweet and so refined.
Welcome to EyeRose Oracle Michael Jackson movie review. A special thanks to my daughter twin Sakima for blessing me with the opportunity to see the movie Michael. Exercising copyright code 107. This is for entertainment purposes only.
I wish I could move like Michael Jackson. Spin around, have the world in a gaze.
Welcome to my personal review of the movie Michael.
From the Apollo nights to the stadium roar, Michael became what they were looking for. A commodity wrapped in a sequin glove, starving for peace while giving the world love. Joe fashioned a shield from the velvet and grit, but the vultures found a way to make it split. Crying at the prize with the hunger stare, turning the vision into a thin man nightmare. They saw the dollar where the talent rang, and silenced the spirit of the songs he sang.
I had a chance to see it the past weekend, and I truly enjoyed the movie. First of all, I'm grateful to have seen the movie before viewing any of the critic reviews, and it seems to allow me to be more open and honest to express my EyeRose personal review of the movie. I'm not gonna make it a long review. It's gonna be pretty much brief and just some pointers that I picked up from the movie. First, I'm gonna start with the saying I grew up around: ways to see a thing as there are people to see it. My first point is we all must understand there will never be another Michael Jackson. With that said, in my opinion, Jermaine's son, Jafar Jackson, did an awesome job in his enactment of his uncle, Michael Jackson. Secondly, I enjoyed the entertainment of listening to the oldies of Michael and the Jackson 5s. It really took me back in that era, and I truly was enjoying the songs. I had composed myself to keep from making too much noise singing the songs and all that, but I enjoyed it. Thirdly, though it seems Joe Jackson was depicted as an authoritative bully, one thing we cannot deny is he fashioned his young men into true superstars. Furthermore, he stayed focused on his vision to move as a family unit to provide a lifestyle legacy for the whole of his family. And I believe that was his focus. I do feel like, Michael definitely was an amazing energy, and he was like the forerunner of the group. However, I believe if Joe Jackson would have been a little more open-minded and compassionate with his sons and Michael's vision, it would have sealed the bond of his family, possibly resulting in an unbreakable bond and a grander vision for his family unit.
With 5 young brothers singing on a dead-end street, a patriarch's ambition was a shield against the cold, but the steel he used to build him was a heavy weight to hold. He knew the world was hungry and the industry was cruel, so he taught them every rhythm like a master at a school to keep the family fed and keep the unit safe and sound. He built a tower battalion on that Indiana ground. Stop the love you say, might be the love you call your own. Better take it slow, or you'll be standing all alone. Building up the superstar, while vultures circle high.
The other thing I realized is that Michael in the movie, it kind of explained some of the reasons why Michael had the nose change, and that made you kind of understand why he did it. I'm not gonna tell the movie, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, because I know other people want to see the movie and don't want to hear the whole story. So I'm just gonna bring about the point is that I see. And I just wanted to say, remember that Joe Jackson started the vision, which was extraordinary, though his tactics was depicted as harsh and cruel in the eyes of his children and many of our eyes as well around the world. However, he saw and knew the extreme of the industry he was preparing his family for, and in my opinion, sought to condition them to become the best in the world in spite. So, I feel like, though his tactics seem harsh and all that, and, being parents, we're very authoritative, and it's like, you do as I say, I don't want to hear no back talk. But like I said, if he would have been more open and realizing, I think if he would have realized this, these were still children, though he was training them and they was, very good at what they did, superstars, very talented and all that. He was more focused on putting them out there to make money and making sure that when they go out there, they're ready for the crowd. Because, sometimes they can be very cruel. And I know, when I was managing my children, I was kind of the same way, because when we come up at, you can't just get up there and get them some mediocre stuff and think you ain't going to get booed. But I think he was really trying to, make sure that they were conditioned and ready for, their audience. But he did succeed in his vision. But along the way, he forgot a few important factors. And that was that these his sons weren't just a group. They were his children that also needed to experience childhood. And they were his family, not just up and coming stars. So I believe that Joe Jackson may have lost focus, and he were more focused on making sure they right, when they got in front of the limelight, I would say. But in my opinion, also, I feel that there's a lot that is thrown on Joe Jackson as if he was the main issue of the group, and what happened to them, what pretty much made them not be together performing and separated from Michael. But in my opinion, I feel that the industry saw an opportunity to take advantage of Joe Jackson, who had pioneered his children to be superstars. And they seen his vision, and that he had fashioned them to the point that they were very polished. They weren't afraid to get in front of an audience. And they, didn't have a problem with performing in front of the world. And they took advantage of the dysfunction that I felt worked against them and tore them apart. Pretty much the tactics that Joe used to, make them, be professional, talented artists. And, I feel like like I said, he could have showed a little more compassion. And I think that would have made them bond more with him, allowing them to be children as well, because they were still very young children. The other thing that the industry saw the group, like I said, as a commodity. And they seen that Michael was the youngest and more attractive and vulnerable, talent, and so they used him, went to capture him in order to fulfill their dreams, pretty much letting showing them, how to work in the studio and, different stuff. And that was their way, really, I would say, grooming in a different fashion, him to move more towards him and away from Joe Jackson. But they used him as a target, Michael Jackson, and pulled him, away from his family, by separating him from the group, which he was very good. And, he did very well apart from the group. But I feel like, Joe Jackson, was the one that really got them together and trained them, and polished them up. So if he would have been a little more open to let Michael Jackson explore his vision as a single artist too, while also working with the group, I think Michael Jackson would have been more open to accepting that. But the industry seen, dollar signs, and they, took out a way to try to get them away from Joe Jackson so that they could really take full advantage of them and the money can become theirs and not stay within the family. And this was not only done with the Jackson Fives, but we seen the same with other stars, Whitney Houston, for instance. There might have been incidents, that she ran across with her dad and all that, but I think it also was a way to pull her away from the dad so that they would have more control. So I would say yes, Joe Jackson did have some things that he could have corrected in his managing his sons, but I don't feel that he was really the one that pretty much destroyed the group. I think it was the greed of the industry that sought to destroy the group, and they seemed, because Michael Jackson was the younger one and very, very energetic, that he would draw crowds quicker, even though all of them was good, because I used to love to see the Jackson 5 perform. But in closing, I just want to say, like I said, they became a commodity to the industry instead of artistic talent, and it caused their destruction. And I'm going to leave us all with this thought, because as parents, we can become stuck on our authoritative role, unknowing the impact and effects it projects on our family unit. I believe in the truth of spare the rod and spoil the child. However, we must remember they are children moving in a world unknown to them. As we teach them morals and safety to maneuver in a world of vultures ready to devour them, remember to move with precision and compassion, knowing they are precious, tender souls. And when I say to parents, I'm talking to myself too, because I had to look at that too, we, look at the children as if they should know certain things, but not realizing, they coming into the world, they're learning, they're going to make mistakes, they're going to make errors, but we don't want to make them feel like they the worst person in the world because they done made a mistake. But at the same time, be, firm with them to let them know that that's something, they shouldn't do, or, to be careful, out here in this world. And in doing so, that will protect them, really draw them closer to us, whereas we would become pretty much the person that they would go to, and it would be harder for, people that's preying on them to attract them. So I say if we're not using precision and compassion with our children, realizing they are precious and tender souls, it can result into dysfunction that will run them into the hands of prey, the people that's preying on them. And I believe that's some of what happened with Michael and the Jackson 5. But I take my hat off to Joe Jackson, and I don't put all the blame on Joe Jackson because he saw them struggling, and he wanted to see his family living a lifestyle of legacy that they all could enjoy. Like I said, his tactics could have been better, but I look at the intentions as well. But most of the blame is being thrown on him when we ignore really the deceit and trickery of the industry that pulled them away from him as well. So the movie was really awesome. I truly, truly enjoyed it. I was glad, they pretty much told the story of why Michael Jackson made certain songs, what inspired him, and as well as show, why he went about getting his nose changed and, different things like that. But Jafar did a very awesome job. Of course, he's not Michael Jackson, and we shouldn't expect him to be, but he was very, 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 very close to the enactment of his uncle Michael Jackson. So I take my hats off to him, and I just hope that he's very careful as well in this industry. But I'm gonna let my song say the rest. I put together some songs after seeing the movie, and coming up with my review, and I hope everyone enjoy the songs, and look forward to seeing more of EyeRose Oracle's content. I'm looking forward to putting more out. I have some work in process right now. Episode 2 should be coming up very soon, but I wanted to make sure I get this review in because I truly enjoyed it.
Correction, episode 3 coming soon, which relates with this content covering vexatious people and using compassion. In my opinion, Joe Jackson, Michael and the Jackson 5 encountered vexatious people in the industry.
And I just wanted to give some of my point of views about the movie and the way Joe Jackson was being depicted. I'm sure, the children did experience some hardships with their dad, but understand that parents not all perfect. We some of us, come into parenthood, by trial and error, not playing, you're here and we got to learn to do it the best we can, and we're not always perfect. And I, truly don't have a problem saying that, but we do try to do our best, but we try to put our best interests out front for the children, and that's how it should be. Most of the times, I can't say we all do it, but that's how it should be. But anyway, I enjoyed the movie, and I look forward to putting some more content out for you all. And I hope you're enjoying what I'm putting out thus far. And if you're looking to support my content, I'm going to give you my Cash App, which is $New Beginning 811. That's $New Beginning 811. And I'm going to thank you in advance for anything that you're willing to do to support my channel. I appreciate it. I will be putting some products out real soon. I've been working on a fruit products as well. So as I like to say, even in stillness, the bloom still unfolds.
Waiting for the moment that a legend starts to fly. It's a long way up, but it's a lonely way to fall. When the commodity of fame is written on the wall. Yeah. Then Michael rose like lightning with a spirit uncontained, a supernova burning with a legendary name. But as the crown was settled and the kingdom grew so vast, the vultures started creeping from the shadows of the past. They didn't see the artist or the boy who used to play. They saw a golden ticket they could slowly tear away. His father's harsh protection couldn't stop the inner dark, when every stranger wanted just to steal a little spark. They turned the man to product and they turned the soul to gold, until the greatest story ever lived was bought and sold. He reigned upon the mountain, but the price was far too steep, with promises of fortune that the vultures meant to keep. Stop the love you say, might be the love you call your own. Oh, better take it slow, or you'll be standing all alone. Building up the superstar, while vultures circle high. Waiting for the moment that a legend starts to fly. It's a long way up, but it's a lonely way to fall. When the commodity of fame is written on the wall. From the rehearsal basement to the stadiums alike, the talent rang like thunder through the middle of the night. Joe's vision was a fortress, but the gates were left ajar, and the world became a prison for his brightest shining star. They took the legendary claim and stripped it to the bone, while the king sat on a pedestal and felt so all alone. It's the tragedy of genius when the business takes the lead, and the hunger of the many overrides a human need. Remember where it started, with the brothers in the line. But the vultures came to take what wasn't theirs to find. Take it slow now, brother. Watch the wings above your head. Don't let them trade your spirit for a piece of gold instead. The legacy is heavy and the cost of fame is high. Underneath the glitter is a lonely lullaby.
Artistic beauty in the struggle, sweet and so refined, leaving all the bitterness and the wreckage far behind. I'm erupting from the ground, the courageous flow of rain, turning all the sacrifice into a sacred game.
The essence of the